हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक टू अवर यूट्यूब चैनल। आज हम आपके लिए बजट 2025 उसके इनकम टैक्स अमेंडमेंट्स लेकर के आए हैं, जो अभी बजट प्रेजेंट किया है फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने। तो चलिए वीडियो को शुरू करते हैं। सबसे पहले तो जो नई टैक्स स्लैब्स आए हैं वो क्या हैं। अप टू 4 लाख नील, 4 लाख टू 8 लाख 5%, 8 to 12 10%, 12 to 16 15%, 16 लाख टू 20 लाख 20%, 20 लाख टू 24%, 24 लाख 25%, और अबव 24 लाख 30%। तो ये नए टैक्स स्लैब आए हैं जिससे मिडिल क्लास को एक अच्छा खासा रिलीफ मिलने वाला है। साथ के साथ रिबेट चेंज कर दी है। रेसिडेंट इंडिविजुअल with total income up to 7 lakh do not pay any tax due to rebate under. It is proposed to increase the rebate for the resident up to 12 lakh. Marginal relief as provided under earlier under new tax regime is also applicable for income marginally higher than 12 lakh. तो इसको देखिए एग्जाम्पल से समझाया गया है। तो टैक्स ऑन स्लैब एंड रेट्स। तो प्रेजेंट क्या है? 30,000, प्रपोज्ड 20,000। 8 लाख तक की इनकम पर 9 लाख पे प्रेजेंट 40,000, प्रपोज 30,000। तो देखिए आप लगभग लगभग 10,000 15,000 का रिडक्शन आपको हर इनकम के ब्लॉक पर मिल रहा है। और जैसे जैसे आपकी इनकम बढ़ती जाएगी, यानी कि 50 लाख रुपए की इनकम पर टैक्स में जो बेनिफिट मिला है वो 1,10,000 रुपए का मिला है। तो ये देखिए कितना अच्छा खासा रिबेट हमें मिल गया है यहाँ पर, कितना अच्छा खासा रिलीफ हमें नए आज के बजट में हमें मिल गया है। रैशनलाइजेशन ऑफ टीडीएस। तो कुछ जगहों पर टीडीएस के रेट्स को कम कर दिया है, जैसे कि 194 एलबीसी, इनकम इन रेस्पेक्ट ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट्स एंड सिक्योरिटाइजेशन ट्रस्ट। तो ये 1 सेकेंड, ये कुछ एरर है यहाँ पर। जो प्रपोज्ड जो पहले चल रहा था वो 25% था इंडिविजुअल के लिए, और 30% था अदरवाइज। और अब इसको घटा करके इसको घटा करके 10% कर दिया गया है सभी के लिए। सब सेक्शन 1 ऑफ सेक्शन 206C टीसीएस की बात करते हैं। तो टीसीएस का रेट पहले 2.5% था ऑन टिम्बर और टिम्बर के किसी प्रोडक्ट पर, अब इसको घटा करके 2% कर दिया गया है। टीसीएस ऑन रेमिटेंस अंडर एलआरएस पहले ये 0.5% था आफ्टर 7 लाख, अब इसको निल कर दिया गया है। इसके बाद रैशनलाइजेशन ऑफ टीडीएस में इस इसके बाद रैशनलाइजेशन ऑफ टीडीएस में कुछ थ्रेशोल्ड्स बढ़ा दी गई हैं। ठीक है, तो हम उनको डिस्कस करते हैं। सबसे पहले 193 इंटरेस्ट ऑन सिक्योरिटीज, इसकी थ्रेशोल्ड 10,000 रुपये कर दी गई है, पहले ये निल होती थी। 194 है इंटरेस्ट अदर देन इंटरेस्ट ऑन सिक्योरिटीज, इसमें 50,000 रुपये की होती थी, उसको 1 लाख रुपए कर दिया गया है सीनियर सिटीजन के लिए। 40,000 होती थी अदर्स के लिए, उसको 50,000 रुपये कर दिया गया है अदर्स के लिए। और साथ के साथ जो 5,000 रुपये अदर केसेस में होती थी उसको बढ़ा करके 10,000 कर दिया है। 194 की डिविडेंड की 5,000 से बढ़ा के 10%, 194 के में 5,000 से बढ़ा करके 10%। विनिंग फ्रॉम लॉटरीज में पहले 10,000 रुपये पूरे साल में होती थी, अब इसको 10,000 रुपये पर ट्रांजेक्शन कर दिया गया है। सेम इज विद द केस विद विनिंग फ्रॉम हॉर्स रेसेस। 194D इंश्योरेंस कमीशन में 15 से बढ़ा करके 20,000। इनकम बाय वे ऑफ कमीशन प्राइस लॉटरी टिकट्स 15,000 से बढ़ा करके 20,000। कमीशन ब्रोकरेज में 15,000 से बढ़ा करके 20,000। रेंट में पहले होता था 2,40,000 रुपये पर एनम, अब इसको बढ़ा करके 50,000 रुपये पर मंथ कर दिया गया है, यानी कि 6 लाख रुपए साल कर दिया गया है। 194J फीस फॉर प्रोफेशनल और टेक्निकल सर्विसेज, पहले 30,000 रुपये होता था, उसको बढ़ा करके 50,000 कर दिया गया है। 194LA इनकम बाय वे ऑफ एनहांस्ड कंपनसेशन, 2.5 लाख से बढ़ा करके 5 लाख कर दिया गया है। और रेमिटांसेस पर जो 206C1G है, रेमिटांसेस अंडर एलआरएस एंड ओवरसीज टूर पैकेज प्रोग्राम, इसको 7 लाख से बढ़ा करके 10 लाख कर दिया गया है। यहाँ पर हम टीडीएस की बात करें, टीसीएस को इन्होंने खत्म कर दिया है, जो यहाँ पर अभी हमने बताया था आपको थर्ड पॉइंट में। अब कुछ अमेंडमेंट्स लाए गए हैं टू एनकरेज वॉलेंट्री कंप्लाइंस। तो सबसे पहले अपडेटेड रिटर्न के लिए टाइम लिमिट बढ़ा दी गई है। इट इज प्रपोज टू एक्सटेंड द टाइम लिमिट टू फाइल अपडेटेड रिटर्न फ्रॉम एग्जिस्टिंग 24 मंथ्स टू 48 मंथ्स फ्रॉम द एंड ऑफ द रेलिवेंट असेसमेंट ईयर। The additional payable shall be 60% of the aggregate of tax and interest payable on additional income for filing updated return during the period of 24 months to 36 months from the end of relevant assessment year. Additional tax payable shall be 70% of the aggregate of tax and interest payable for filing updated return during the period of 36 to 48 months from the end of relevant assessment year, subject to certain conditions. Obligation to furnish information in respect of crypto assets. It is proposed to bring amendment in the Act to provide that for the prescribed reporting entity in respect of a crypto asset shall furnish information in respect of a transaction in such crypto asset in a statement as prescribed. It is also proposed to align the definition of virtual digital asset accordingly. तो उसमें एक डिक्लेरेशन देने की बात करी गई है, इंफॉर्मेशन देने की बात करी गई है क्रिप्टो असेट्स में. Annual value of self-occupied property simplified. It is proposed to provide that the annual value of the property consisting of a house or any part thereof shall be taken as nil if the owner occupies for his own residence and cannot actually occupy it for any reason. रिड्यूसिंग कंप्लाइंस बर्डन. कहीं कहीं पर कंप्लाइंस बर्डन को रिड्यूस किया गया है. तो रिडक्शन इन कंप्लाइंस बर्डन बाय ओमिशन ऑफ टीसीएस ऑन सेल ऑफ specified goods. To reduce compliance burden of the taxpayers, it is proposed to no that no tax will be collected at source on sale of specified goods of value of more than 50 lakh. Removal of higher TDS TCS for non-filers of return of income. To reduce compliance burden of the deductor collector, it is proposed to omit section 206AB, 206 CCA of the Act. Definition of forest produce rationalized. It is proposed to clarify the meaning of forest produce of the under section 206C1 to remove any ambiguity. It is proposed that TCS be collected only on any other forest produce which is obtained under a forest lease. Ease of doing business में क्या क्या amendments किए गए हैं? Extension of time limit under section 80 IAC for startups. It is proposed to extend the benefit provided under section 80 IAC to startups for another period of 5 years. That is, the benefit will be available to eligible startups incorporated before 1st of April 2030. Parity in rates of long-term capital gain on transfer of securities by non-resident. It is proposed to bring parity between the taxation of capital gains on transfer of capital assets between resident and non-resident being foreign institution being FII on their income by way of LTCG on transfer of securities. तो ये FII को वापस लाने के लिए किया गया है मार्केट में. Simplification of tax provisions for charitable trust. It is proposed to increase the period of validity of registration of trust or institution from 5 years to 10 years for smaller trusts or institutions. It is proposed to rationalize the definition of a specified violation for cancellation of registration of trust or institution so as not to apply the same for minor defaults such as incomplete applications. It is also proposed to rationalize the definition of person making substantial contribution to a trust or institution for denial of exemption. Rationalization in taxation of business trust. It is proposed to provide that the total income of a business trust which is charged to tax at the maximum marginal rate shall be subject to provisions of section 112A of the Act as it is subject to provisions of section 111A and 112. तो ये वही 111A 15% का कंसेशनल रेट देता है, 112 12.5% का कंसेशनल रेट देता है. अब वैसे ही टैक्सेशन ऑफ बिजनेस ट्रस्ट के लिए एक अलग से सेक्शन लाएंगे. Harmonization of significant economic presence applicability with business connections. It is proposed to provide that significant economic presence of a non-resident in India shall not include the transactions or activities which are confined to the purchase of goods in India for the purpose of export. Bringing clarity in income on redemption of unit-linked insurance policy. It is proposed to clarify that the profits and gains from redemption of unit-linked insurance policies to which exemption under section 1010D does not apply shall be charged to tax as capital gain. तो ये एक अच्छा अमेंडमेंट है. यहाँ पर कैपिटल गेन की तरह से टैक्स लगेगा. अमेंडमेंट ऑफ डेफिनेशन ऑफ कैपिटल एसेट in order to bring clarity on the chargeability of income arising out of transfer of capital asset being securities held by an investment fund as referred to in section 115 UB, the definition of capital asset is proposed to be amended. Rationalization of transfer pricing provisions for carrying out multi-year arm length price determination. It is proposed to provide that the transfer pricing provisions for arm length price determination in relation to similar transactions shall now be applicable for a period of 3 years. Exemptions from prosecution for delayed payment of TCS. It is proposed to provide for exemption from prosecution to a person who has failed to pay TCS to the credit of central government if such payment is made at any time on or before the time prescribed for filing quarterly TCS statement. तो यानी कि अगर आपने TCS जमा नहीं किया लेकिन रिटर्न जो भरते हैं TCS की उससे पहले उसको जमा कर दिया तो जेल मतलब प्रोसिक्यूशन का प्रोविजन नहीं होगा. Amendment of definition of capital asset. It is proposed to bring clarity on the chargeability of income arising out of capital assets being held by an investment fund. तो ये वही है जो भी हमने पीछे डिस्कस किया था. एम्प्लॉयमेंट एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए क्या किया है? तो सबसे पहले इंसेंटिव दिया है आईएफएससी को, इंटरनेशनल फाइनेंशियल जो इंस्टीट्यूशन है. इट इज प्रपोज दैट द सनसेट डेट्स रिलेटेड टू आईएफएससी यूनिट फॉर एग्जामिशन डिडक्शन एंड रीलोकेशन इन वेरियस सेक्शंस शैल बी एक्सटेंडेड टू 31st March 2030. It is proposed to exempt the proceeds received on life insurance policy issued by FSC Insurance Intermediary Office without the condition on the maximum premium amount. It is proposed to extend the exemption in section 10(4)(h) to capital gains for non-resident or a unit of IFSC on transfer of equity shares or for ship leasing domestic company. It is proposed to extend the exemption in respect of section 1034B to dividend paid by ship leasing company in IFSC to a unit of IFSC engaged in ship leasing. It is proposed that any advance or loan between two group entities where one of the group entities is set up in IFSC for undertaking treasury activities or treasury services shall be excluded from dividend. It is proposed to provide a simplified safe harbor regime for investment funds managed by fund manager based in IFSC. It is further proposed to extend the relaxation of conditions for IFSC until 31st March 2030. It is proposed to provide exemptions for any income accruing or arising to or receiving by a or received by a non-resident as a result of transfer of non-deliverable forward contracts entered into with any foreign portfolio investors being a unit in International Financial Services Center which fulfills prescribed conditions. It is proposed that transfer of share or unit or interest held by a shareholder in an original fund being a retail scheme or exchange traded fund regulated under IFSC regulation in consideration for the share or unit or interest in a resultant fund in a relocation shall not be regarded as transfer for the purpose of calculating capital gains. दूसरा दूसरा क्या है? एक्सटेंशन ऑफ डेट ऑफ मेकिंग इन्वेस्टमेंट बाय सोवरीन वेल्थ फंड, पेंशन फंड्स एंड अदर्स. It is proposed that in the case of person specified under section 1023 FE, the date of making investment shall be extended from 31st March 2025 to 31st March 2030. It is further proposed that in case of such a specified person, exemption shall be available to LTCG under such section even if such capital gains are deemed as short-term capital gains under section 50AA. A scheme of presumptive taxation offered extended for non-resident providing services for electronic manufacturing facilities. ये थर्ड अमेंडमेंट है एम्प्लॉयमेंट एंड इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए. इट इज प्रपोज टू प्रोवाइड प्रिजम्पटिव टैक्सेशन रिजीम फॉर नॉन रेसिडेंट्स एंगेज इन द बिजनेस ऑफ एस्टेब्लिशिंग और ऑपरेटिंग इलेक्ट्रॉनिक manufacturing facility or connected facility for manufacturing or production of electronic goods, articles, or thing in India. Extension of tonnage tax scheme to inland vessel. It is proposed that the benefit of existing tonnage tax scheme to be extended to inland vessel registered under Indian Vessel Act 2021 to promote inland water transportation in the country. Deduction under Section 80 CCD for contributions made to the NPS Vatsalya. It is proposed to extend the tax benefit available to the NPS scheme under subsection 1B of 80 CCD to the contributions made to the NPS वात्सल्य account. तो NPS वात्सल्य account जो बच्चों के अकाउंट के लिए डिडक्शन अभी नया NPS वात्सल्य account इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया था. Other miscellaneous amendments क्या हैं? Exemption from withdrawal from NSS. It is proposed to provide exemptions to the withdrawal made from NSS on or after 29th day of August 2024 for any amount deposited under the scheme and the interest accrued thereon in respect of which deduction has been allowed. Increase in the limits on the income of employees for the purpose of calculating perquisites. The provisions of Section 17 are proposed to be amended so that the power to prescribe rules may be obtained to increase these limit. Exemptions of Extension of exemptions to SUTI, specified units of Unit Trust of India. It is proposed to extend exemption of SUTI created by the Unit Trust of India to 31st March 2027. Non-applicability of Section 217 AB of Act. It is proposed that the provisions of the aforesaid section shall not be applicable to a case where search has been initiated under Section 132 on or after 1st day of September 2024. Certain penalties to be imposed by the AO. It is proposed to amend various sections related to penalties to provide that the penalties under these sections shall be levied by AO subject to the conditions of the Act relating to prior approval of Joint Commissioner. Removing date restrictions on framing the scheme in certain cases. It is proposed that the end date prescribed for notifying faceless scheme under certain sections may be omitted so as to provide that central government may issue directions beyond the cutoff date of 31st March 2025. Extending the processing period of application seeking immunity from penalty and prosecution. It is proposed that AO shall pass an order accepting or rejecting the application requesting immunity from penalty and prosecution within a period of 3 months from the end of the month in which such application is received. Increasing time limits available to pass order under Section 115 VP, it is proposed to amend Section 115 VP to provide that the order accepting or rejecting the assessee's option to opt for tonnage taxation scheme shall be passed before the expiry of 3 months from the end of the quarter in which such application was received. Excluding the period such as court stay for calculating time limit to pass an order. It is proposed to exclude certain time limits such as period of stay on proceedings by any court order from time limit to pass an order deeming a person to be an assessee in default with respect to failure to collect TCS. Time limit to impose penalties rationalized. It is proposed that any order imposing a penalty shall not be passed after the expiry of 6 months from the end of the quarter in which connected proceedings are completed or the order of appeal is received. Clarification regarding commencement date and end date of the period stayed by the court. It is proposed to amend the relevant sections of the Act to clarify commencement date and the end date of the period stayed by an order or injunction of any court. Time limit for retention of seized books of accounts or other document rationalized. It is proposed to make amendments to provide the retention of seized books of accounts or other documents shall be 1 month from the end of the quarter in which assessment or reassessment or recomputation order has been made. Rationalization of provision related to carry forward of losses in case of amalgamation. It is proposed to amend Section 72A and 72AA of the Act to provide that any loss forming part of the accumulated loss of the predecessor entity shall be carried forward for not more than 8 assessment year immediately succeeding the assessment year for which such loss was first computed for the original predecessor entity. Amendment proposed in provisions of block assessment year for search and requisition cases under chapter 14B. It is proposed to add the term virtual digital asset to the set definition of undisclosed income of the block period. The time limit for computation of block assessment is proposed to be made as 12 months from the end of the quarter in which last of the authorizations for search or requisitions has been executed. थैंक यू वेरी मच। ये एक हमारी छोटी सी तो नहीं कहेंगे, ठीक ठाक सी वीडियो थी जिसमें हमने आपको आज के बजट जो यूनियन बजट 2025 आया उसके सारे अमेंडमेंट्स डिस्कस किए हैं इनकम टैक्स से रिलेटेड। आप हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर सकते हैं, साथ ही साथ कमेंट्स में बता सकते हैं कि आप हमसे और किन टॉपिक्स पर वीडियोस चाहते हैं।